So as we think about the next generation workforce, we have to understand that multifaceted employees are all around us. And we have to embrace that and develop plans, services, and systems to support the kinds of things that they're looking for out of their day. The time and space structure of the workday will undergo a transformation as this whole idea blends. We're starting to see this now, but the idea of whether it's work anywhere, work whenever, work however, is taking root further and further across the country, further and further across the world, and that's driven largely by the employee base that wants that, needs that, and depends on that. Diversity will increase in the workforce. This is only just now beginning, and that's a great thing. Employee brand and employer brand is actually very, very powerful. In some research that we've been doing for a number of years, we find that as much as you might be excited about working for Nike because they have really cool shoes, that brand is only getting more powerful, and it's because of the employer brand, not the products themselves. And the employer brand is one that a lot of companies have never really celebrated or focused on, but the idea that tomorrow's employee wants to work for an employer that they can almost wave the flag and say, I'm a part of this organization, is a very powerful concept that we need to get comfortable with. Brand love from a consumer perspective is interesting. Employee love of your company is critical, because that's where tomorrow's consumer wants you to go.
What is the takeaway for all of you? It is this. I found that the 100 best companies to work for in America delivered stock returns that beat their peers by 2.3 to 3.8% per year over a 28-year period. Compounded, that's 89 to 184%. This is serious business. This is something that anybody in the C-suite should care about. Simply put, companies that treat their workers better do better. What's important about investing in workers is it's not simply something you can achieve by throwing money. If it was, every other company could easily just replicate a company that treats its workers well. But why is it that I found that these companies did well over 28 years? Because even though people knew that the Googles of this world were treating their workers well, they couldn't simply replicate it by throwing money at workers. Because this was a cultural, this was an attitudinal thing. Businesses exist to serve a purpose, and by doing so, and only by doing so, will they generate profits for the long term. To reach the land of profit, follow the road of purpose.
Change the conversation about pain. That is the first step. It's cheap, it's easy. Anybody in this room can get it in their organization tomorrow. Because if you can do that, then you can start giving people self-efficacy. Hey, I can control this thing. And if I can control this thing, I can actually get it where I want it to go. 70% of lost days in America are due to musculoskeletal conditions. Why? Because it is way easier to talk about something that hurts in my back than is to talk about something that hurts in my brain. So what really predicts success? What predicts success is baseline pain, no surprise, right? So if we capture pain like we often do, I'll show you some results. I'll ask people literally like 0 to 10 right now, what kind of pain are you in, and capture it by body zone. We know a lot. Secondly, pain change, but here's the other two, the two that you gotta know, okay? Baseline health status and psychological distress. That sounds like well-being to me, right? So you start thinking about the fact that well-being is a precursor to how someone's gonna respond when they have something that would otherwise seem to be musculoskeletal in nature.
So the simple reality is when people experience bias, which if you're a woman who struggles with your weight, you likely experience every single day. Men, we probably experience it a little bit less, but still it happens. The reality is if you experience bias, you actually gain weight, you do not lose weight. So if you're trying to shame someone to participate in your activities, you are actually contributing to the problem. You are making them heavier.
The old notion of eating too many calories or eating too much and moving too little causes obesity is so last century. And it increases the notion that obesity is a character flaw, which it is not. Obesity is an inflammatory disease. And with this inflammatory disease, there are over 230 different complications and associated disorders with it.
It's not only people who are gaining weight. Actually, every species on Earth is gaining weight, including the lab rats that we've controlled their chow and their genetics for the last 50 years.
Right now, walking the earth is the first human that will live 150 years, right? It's probably not an angry, cynical person kicking bricks and cussing people out. We can move the needle on this, and it can't happen without leaders. It has to do with empathy, creating a sense of openness or vulnerability. The leader, in other words, talking about their own well-being journey and making that real for their teammates. And lastly, energy and resilience, basically creating or instilling optimism within the team and how to do that more effectively. The big shift here really, though, is about normalizing the discussion of emotional health and the inner life within the workplace. We know that our world is changing, how and who of work is changing, but the time to design for those changes is actually now, and we'll have the greatest impact on it. And as you think about the future, look around this room and think about those from this conference, because the future is here, and the work that we're doing together is not only going to impact your company and the people that you serve, but over time it's going to reshape how we think about work, life, and health.